Hello there, and welcome to a brand new episode of Talk Music Talk with Boice. This is Boice. This is my podcast you are listening to. Thank you so much for taking the time to check it out. If you are a first-time listener, Talk Music Talk is a weekly music interview podcast where I have long-form conversations with people connected to music from different genres and different backgrounds, established and emerging singers, songwriters, musicians, music journalists, and even music therapists. And on this new episode, it is the return of a past guest. That is Sam Pearce, singer-songwriter, returning from 2 years ago, episode 175. You should listen to that to hear the backstory. Link in the show notes, of course. Back then, he was going by Samuel Worthen. He will explain it to you. He is on the eve of 2 releases, an EP called Hold Me, Rare Animal, which is out March 5th, and then an LP called Bay State, which will be out later in the year. Sam is also a model. We talk about that. It was great catching up with him. We talk about the 2 albums, the concept of them, the making of them, the difference between the 2. We also discuss his songwriting process, being authentic to himself in his music, and also modeling as a day job. After the conversation, you will hear 2 songs from Hold Me, Rare Animal, Honey, and Beginners. Here it is, without further ado, my conversation with Sam Pearce. Enjoy. When we talked 2 years ago, right, and I'm looking at the episode, you were Samuel Worthing. Now you're Sam Pearce. Yeah. And I didn't listen back to the interview, but I think we talked about then, if you remember, like... Oh, yeah, I mean, I figured I might have to explain the name change. Am I the first person you've interviewed twice under 2 different names? Yes. All right, yeah. I'm very honored to have that distinction. So my real name is Sam Pearce, Samuel Pearce. And I used to be a teacher. I used to teach 8th grade for the New York City 8th grade English. Mm-hmm. It's coming back to me now. Yeah, for New York City Department of Education. And incidentally, I stumbled into my modeling career at the same time. And so my agent wisely suggested that I work as a model under a different last name. And my mom's last name is Worthen, and my mom is my hero. It's her birthday today. Not hearing this, but today, February 12th, is my mom's birthday. Well, happy birthday to Sam's mom. Thank you. Yeah, Sydney. So it was kind of cool for me to take her last name as a tribute to her as well. But the practical concern was just trying to prevent my students from Googling me and finding out I was a model. And now that I'm not teaching full time, I just decided I feel more honest using my real name. Because I hope at least I'm singing as myself, and it just felt right to switch back to my real name. So hence the change. And the benefit of being a unknown artist is that you can pull that off. And had you had any experiences where students discovered you? Yeah, it was one big experience. Because I was doing an unusual combination of jobs. A friend interviewed me for one publication, and then a couple other publications were interested in talking to me, and my agent was like, do it, it'll be good for your modeling career and your students will never find out. And I naively believed it. And I went on how exactly did it happen? I don't remember exactly what the impetus was, but I think we kind of knew that the time had come, they were gonna know. And so I didn't feel right about, in my opinion, the attention was not merited. Yeah. And I wanted to use this unmerited attention to do something useful. So I at the last minute put together a GoFundMe to buy books for individual books that my students wanted to read, and classroom sets of the books that I was teaching to them. And people were amazing. People donated $5,000 in 3 days, and then we raised just as much money the next year. And it makes a big difference because New York City teachers get $100 a year
to buy all their classroom supplies.
Yeah.
And we all, I mean, I'm not currently a teacher, but all teachers spend a lot of their own income. And so it just made it possible for me to like provide the physical materials that I felt I needed to be the best teacher I could be. So it worked out really well. And it was a great day going into school and having all my students swarm me and accuse me correctly of being a model.
Were you embarrassed or awkward?
I wasn't embarrassed. I was more nervous about like the principal being upset that I had another job. I mean, it was perfectly legal and there weren't any like actual conflicts of interest, but I don't know. I just, my students were obviously my first priority. And I was just like, for example, there were some like someone from CNN had contacted me and I was like, I don't think this is a good idea. Cause the goal is to like raise money for my students, but like any attention is just kind of risky beyond that. Yeah. So I was kind of nervous that like, that this attention directed at me would create some kind of problem in the school. But with my students, no. I mean, the students who like to kind of challenge me just used it as like another thing to make fun of me about. And then the students who liked me just thought it was cool. So it worked out.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
You know, over the past 2 years, it feels like you had disappeared for a while, right? Am I right about that?
Yeah. I mean, I was working in Paris for a chunk of time, just doing modeling work, but also still making songs. And I worked in Guangzhou, China. And I basically, like the bulk of the work I did musically is the two things you've heard, the EP that's coming out and the LP that will come out eventually, but we don't know when. But it's they're both all done. So it is nice to finally have something to show people.
And because you went off social media for a while, right? Am I?
Yeah, I did. That was a great decision. The only reason I came back is my agent was like, you need an Instagram or you'll lose this particular job. And I was like, okay. I'll do it. I've been on it. I have mixed feelings about it. But I'm back. I'm back a lot.
So these past 2 years have been entirely like both the EP, which is coming out March 5th, and then the album, which will be at a later date. Were they both all worked on during these past 2 years?
They were both finished during the past 2 years, but not exactly. The earliest song I wrote when I was 17, the earliest song on the LP, and then the earliest song on the EP I wrote when I was 19. So like it's a pretty big span. But I did write kind of like some of the songs that I liked the most in the past year or so. And so I felt like the past couple of years where I kind of disappeared, at least in terms of music, as you said, were key for me making these two releases what I hoped for them to be.
And why two really? Like, what are the differences between the two?
Well, so I was listening to your interview with Bartiz Strange, whose music I already really liked. So it was very cool to hear the two of you have a conversation. And he was speaking about how he made his Say Goodbye to Pretty Boy, his like EP of National, covers of National, as like a way to let people know that he was making good music before he released his original EP. And I appreciated like his honesty about that, because I think I could give an answer that is like less strategic, but a big reason I made the EP is that I wanted to have some work out there and try to get a little bit of an audience, so that when I send the LP, which is just a more polished piece of work, to labels, there's just a little bit higher chance, I hope, that they'll take me seriously, because they'll see that I've released other work and that some people are listening to it. And then the other reason, the more sincere reason, is that these are songs that like I have tenderness for. Like I don't believe they're all excellent songs, but I love something about each of them, and so I wanted to share them. And because they're disparate in a way, I thought it'd be kind of nice to just collect them together and put them out there as an EP so that some people can hear them if they want to.
Okay. So two things. First thing, I did like that about Bartiz, that it was very forthright and refreshing that, okay, this album of national songs is going to get me an attention in the way that, maybe my solo stuff that people haven't heard, and then to put that out. So I did like that he talked about that, and like that there wasn't anything shameful in that. It's like, every artist wants to work to get attention, right?
Exactly. And I definitely like don't know the way to do that. I don't have any confidence about knowing the way to, but it's like I have different ideas that could work. So small. And I've been submitting my music online to playlists, and like it's been exciting that a handful of people like them and say like, yeah, I'll put it on my playlist. And it's not, each person who shares it might only be like a dozen or 100 new people who hear it, but just hearing from someone who doesn't have any like other reason to be kind to me, like my friends and my family, so they enjoy my music, is just a nice feeling and a new feeling for me, because I've never really shared my music with strangers, basically.
Yeah. There's almost like this thrill of like, strangers liking what you do as opposed to family and friends, because it's like they kind of have to.
Yeah, they do kind of have to. But I mean, it's two different kinds of good feelings, because like at the end of the day, the people whose opinions I care about most are my family and friends. But I also recognize that they're not as at liberty to not like it. And also, I think it's a combination of one being, generous, and also when you love someone, you're just much more inclined to like things that they create. You're more inclined to see the beauty in them. So it has been interesting and cool to share things with strangers. And I mean, as people would expect, I definitely have as much, well, probably much more kind of criticism and critical feedback than I have like thumbs up from the people I'm sharing it with. But that has also been kind of exciting. It's sort of just like nice to hear from someone who isn't really worried about my feelings and can just tell me what they hear. And to these people's credit, they're all, I'm just sending it to people on Submit Hub. They're all like, perfectly civil and polite. But I kind of just like amassing notes of other people, just mentally, of other people's impressions. And I think like I can carry those into the next recordings that I make. And I think it's going to be really helpful.
So the other thing I was going to say is that for the songs, and I guess for people so they won't get confused, there's the EP that's coming out March 5th, and then the album, which will coming out.
So the album,
Undetermined Time.
Yeah. The album will come out either. So the plan is, we're going to, Kyle Joseph, the producer, who is definitely the most important person in terms of like the quality of the album. He had such an impact on what it turned out to be. Kyle and I are attempting to get me signed for this album, recognizing how challenging that is, especially given like the current climate in the industry. And we're going to give ourselves some time, maybe a year, maybe less time. And then the likely outcome is that I'm going to self-release it, but I just wanted to give myself the opportunity to get signed. But I also wanted to have music that was available for people to listen to. So the EP will be out at the beginning of March. And then I can promise that my LP, Base State, will be out in the year 2021. I just don't know when.
Okay.
And hey, the label, and you're looking for a Massachusetts epic, give me a call.
Here's your boy. So I was going to say is that are you looking at the project as two distinct things, like these songs go for this project, these songs go for this project, or these songs work together? Like, how did you decide what goes where?
I think the simplest and truest explanation is like I mostly put the 9 best songs on the LP. However, there are a couple songs that I feel like I like them just as much as the LP songs, like Beginners, the first track on the EP. I love that song. That's the one I wrote when I was 19. But it sort of has harmony and a groove that doesn't match very well with the LP, so I thought it was more fitting on it in a separate work. And I would say, generally speaking, the LP is, in my opinion, pretty coherent. It's sort of like you're in the same world the whole time.
Yes, it does feel like of a piece. Everything's of a piece.
I'm glad that that it translated that way to you. And the EP is more like a shoebox. It's like stuff that I've kept because it's important to me in some way or another, but they're not necessarily directly related to each other. But I've opened up the shoebox and like arranged the items in the shoebox in a way that I think is in the order I think is the nicest to experience. Yeah, sharing it with people.
Okay. What makes a best Sam Pearce song?
Oh, good question. I have to be honest that I don't always have the like clearest impression of the quality of let me rephrase that. When I make a song and I listen to it myself, I have hunches, but like I really rely on external approval or criticism to like develop a more clear idea. I think Kyle's opinion is probably the most influential on like how I think about a song, because he's a professional, he produces tons of songs, and I know he believes in my music, and I know that like he's told me when I make songs and they're just not very special. So I'll show stuff to Kyle and see like whether he responds to the music, and then I think the other way, which like is within me, is just how I feel when I'm listening to it. Because I think that's the guiding force when I make decisions, when I'm making songs, is like, what do I want to hear? And often that's like how if I have a binary decision, like there's 2 things I'm considering, I'll do a version of each of them and then listen back, and then whichever like makes me feel more when I'm listening, I know that's the one I want to have in the song.
Okay.
But I guess I'll try to answer your question a little more succinctly. Like, I guess the story I tell with the words is important to me. And the way I'm like very critical of my own lyrics and the way I feel when I'm listening to it, and the truthfulness of it. I think those are like the 3 things. Yeah.
Is there, like, in your discussions with Kyle, are there areas that you feel, I don't know, maybe insecure about, or the most work? Is it like lyrics? Is it your voice?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly feel insecure about like most elements of my music making, which is productive and counterproductive at the same time. Because I think insecurity has fueled me to work hard and work with patience on my music. Like, as you said, it's been a long time coming. It's been 2 years between my earlier singles and this release. But I think insecurity can also be counterproductive, because there's a certain point of reiteration that is no longer fruitful. Like Kyle has helped me learn that like usually like 5 vocal takes max is like where you're going to get the optimal result. Yeah. Once you go beyond that, it's just like the emotion kind of, I don't know if deteriorates is the right word, but it's not the same emotionally if you've sung it tons of times. So I guess I'll admit that I'm insecure about all elements of my music making, but I think the thing I'm most confident about is I feel pretty good about the lyrics that I release. Like, I write a lot of lyrics in the beginning that I don't believe in, but like the lyrics that I decide to show to the world, at least now in this moment, I might think differently in a few years, but like that's the story I wanted to tell, and I'm telling it the way I wanted to tell it.
Okay, that makes sense. And do you have you been working like in the past year? Has pandemic, is that giving you any kind of difference in the way you write, more time or?
Yeah, it's definitely giving me time. I mean, there was probably 3 solid months where modeling work just ceased completely. Some people were doing like FaceTime shoots, but I didn't get any work of that nature. And during that time, I was staying with my grandparents, and I was basically their cook. Like, I really love to cook, and I was just, making a nice dinner for us every night and making dessert. And then that was like a few hours of every day, but during the rest of the day, I was free, and I made a lot of the EP. I made those songs during that time, like during the late spring and early summer.
Mm-hmm. And you were just sending these to Kyle, and then he would produce it remotely?
Kyle produced the whole EP, and by produced, I mean mixed and made production decisions in like 3 days, a few weeks ago. And then I did the EP is, oh no, that's not entirely true. Talk to Me and One-on-One, I recorded them mostly in Kyle's old studio. But everything else I recorded at home. And I sort of just decided, here are 9 songs that I think could be nice as a collection. And I shared them with Kyle. And he, agreed that it was worth listening to, and that it made sense to release it in advance of the EP. Of the LP. And so that's how we made the EP.
Okay. Are there themes throughout the lyrics? Things that you naturally return to?
Yeah, I think my songs so far are thematically mostly about romantic love, but I'm kind of ready to write about other stuff. I mean, it's not, I think every song I write, it comes from a sincere place. Like, I don't write love songs because I think that's what people want to hear or anything like that. And I don't think I like sit down to write a song hoping to write a kind of song. It's just like, I'll have a feeling and I'll have words that come to me that describe that feeling. And then I just want to sing about it. So I think love and relationships is a persistent theme in my work so far. I finally made a song that's for my family though, on the LP, which won't be out when you hear this, but it's coming. And the song is called Dad's New 92 Acura. And in a way, that's my favorite song so far. Just because, the people it's really for my little brother, my brother Harry. And, he's been there for me, and we've been through everything together for our lives. And it's just so important that, like, I'm just so grateful to have kind of had a friend, really. I mean, we were antagonistic friends sometimes as kids. But, like, he was my friend through my whole life. And he understands me in a way that is not really possible for other people to understand, because, like, we had the same life for a long time. And so it feels great to have made a song that's like dedicated to him.
That's beautiful. That's nice.
Thanks.
Has he heard it yet?
Yeah, it was I actually wrote it for both of us to sing. And like he doesn't like sing in the same way. He doesn't like pursue singing the way I do, but he's a good singer. Like I like the way he sings, and I was like, this is going to be great. And then we tracked his vocals, and he did an awesome job. And then, like, when we listened back, Kyle pointed out that, like, it is kind of impossible for the two of us singing together to have the same basically musical intensity that me doubling myself does, because you can't, I mean, if we had sung together our whole lives, it might be a little different, but in most cases, it's just very difficult for two people to create a vocal double in unison that is as compelling as one person doubling themselves. It's just like people's phrasing is idiosyncratic, and so Harry's contribution was awesome. It just wasn't possible to make it sound as good as an actual double. Okay. And so it was like I like kind of fretted about this for like a whole week, because like the whole point of the song was like something for us to do together, and like I not only wanted to like make a song dedicated to him, but I like wanted to include him on the record. And I also have to credit him for the whole reason the song exists. Is we were at this show, and he was like, "Hey, if there's like a negligible vocal part on the record, I'll sing it." I was like, "Okay, cool." Like there isn't anything, but then I just wrote this song for us to sing. And so, yeah, I like thought about it for a week, and I told Kyle like I really want to do right by my brother and like include him on the record because I said I would, and I made this song for us to sing together. But then Kyle pointed out, well, you know, he's your brother, and like he's gonna want you to release the thing that like sounds the best. And so I told Harry, and he was just so cool about it. Just like, you know, it was definitely like I definitely made a big mistake of like promising something and then going back on that. Like I own that. But yeah, I appreciate my brother for understanding, and like, you know, it's the song exists because of him. The song is still for him. So, you know, I'm hoping that, I don't know if this is going to happen, but if I make a video for the record, I would like it to be for that song, and it would definitely be starring the two of us. And he's a good actor. He's great on camera. He's really funny. So like that's what I'm hoping we can do. Okay. Time and other resources permit.
We'll see. For Bay State, which is more produced, it's more lush. How did you come about the sound for it?
Great question. I think my favorite parts of Bay State, well, one part of Bay State that I appreciate is the parts where I made like textures using my guitar and a pedal, and I'd never played through pedals before. And like I love my electric guitar. It's a Telecaster. But the whole record is just that one electric guitar. And Kyle lent me two pedals, like I guess it was a reverb pedal and a delay pedal. And just like told me to kind of max them out. And then I used to study classical guitar, so I have like pretty strong right hand technique for tremolo, for example. Yeah. I can play fast 16th notes in a fluid way in my right hand. So I use that technique and put it through all these effects. And like, I really loved the sound that came out. And I'm not claiming it's like a unique discovery. Like this is something that people do on their records, but to me, it was like, oh wow, like, this is how that happens. I don't know, kind of like that's the song Pangea, which is the first song on the record. For me, it's about like a world ending, about like something being subsumed back into the sea. And those guitar sounds just kind of sounded like waves. And then another little thing that very possibly other people do, but to me felt like an exciting discovery, was I would put my harmony mute in my trumpet and record that, and then just shift the pitch down an octave. And to me, it sounded kind of like this very strange cello with also like some of the qualities of a double reed instrument. And I was like, oh, this is a beautiful sound. I want to try to incorporate it. So also only on that track Pangea, I improvised like in some places 3, in some places like 5 or 6 lines of trumpet parts. And then with the different pitch shifting, they kind of like fill the, it's more like a brass ensemble, because some of them are in the like low brass range, some of them trumpet range. And so for me, those are kind of like the special, in terms of textures, those are the special ones, or the ones that were like exciting for me to experiment with on Bay State. So yeah, for me, the things are the the electric guitar through the delay and reverb, and the trumpet with the harmon mute shifted down an octave.
Mm-hmm. And that sort of gave you the collective sound.
Yeah, it actually kind of, I guess it was more like the icing on the cake because I kind of added it at the end. But yeah, it just made it just like, for me, it kind of created more of a world than I was hearing before. Like one of my favorite albums is Feels by Animal Collective, and I feel like it's one of, I think I probably talked about it in the last interview, but it's one of the most immersive pieces of music that I know. In the beginning, in the song "Did You See the Words," there's this kind of like this guitar chord, just one chord through delay that to me sounds like a spring of water, and it's like invites you into the world. And I kind of wanted to try something like that. I just wanted to make a space to be in for the length of the album, and so it led me to try some things I hadn't tried before.
Yeah. So were you intentionally looking for a sound then for this album?
I don't think so, but I want to think harder about that question. Like because maybe I was. I hadn't really thought about that yet. I definitely, what didn't happen is I didn't hear music I love by other artists and be like, I want to make my version of this, because I've done that in the past, and for me it doesn't work very well. Like you can usually just kind of tell I was trying to do what someone else does.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of glad that for this time, like I felt like every song kind of, I mean, of course, the way I make songs comes from all the music I've listened to, but I felt like they all came from a version of me. But I think what unifies the songs is just that they were the songs that felt like the most emotionally open and true. The songs were like, I wasn't, and also in some of the first singles I released, which I've taken off the internet for this season, I was like trying to make a catchy song that like people will like, and I enjoyed doing that, but then those songs didn't age very well for me. Like I listened a year later and I was like, I'm playing a character who is just not really me.
Yeah.
So I think like, I think what's unifying is just that like these were the songs where I felt like my heart was the most open and there wasn't kind of a shield between me and the listener.
Okay. And was it in listening to those songs that you make a shift? Like, that's not who I really am. I'm trying to be somebody else.
Yeah, I think Kyle helped me realize that a little bit. Like, yeah, one of the songs, Kyle was like, this one just isn't as good. And I was like, oh, you're right. Figured that out. And then the other one, I kind of realized it on my own. But it's sort of hard to know, like, it's hard to know you're being inauthentic until you feel yourself, at least, well, maybe in the future, I'll look back on this and see elements of inauthenticity, but I don't think so. Like at the time when I was making these songs, I wanted to make something good. I wanted to please people, but I didn't feel like I was being inauthentic. I was just like, okay, I want to make a catchy song. And then when I finally was making songs that like felt more true, I was like, oh, this is where I want to be. And that kind of like helped me understand the ways in which I wasn't being authentic before.
Okay, got it. And are you just writing, like, what kind of songwriter are you? Are you writing constantly every day, or as inspiration hits and you work on it?
Not every day. Except there are periods of time where I write every day. There's a few different things that help me write songs. I think we're on like a little break right now, but I have a group of friends who have started this website where like there's a assignment every 2 weeks with 3 parameters, and you don't have to, but you're invited to make something. That's been really helpful. Let's see, pigeon, porcupine, sea urchin, all the animal songs.
Okay.
And I think, hold on, I'm just gonna scroll through the track list in my brain. I think, those 3 came from that little, and Honey also came from that little group. So that was cool. And then sometimes it is, I think recently for the like first time in my life, I've had the experience of kind of sitting down and just making a song in one sitting. The last song on Hold Me Rare, Animal, Neighbors, I wrote that for my girlfriend. And I was just like sitting on a couch with my electric guitar, no amplification. And I don't know, I kind of just like wanted to just look in my heart and see what was there. And that would be the song.
Okay.
And so their lyrics are simple and it's just like three things I was feeling, and I made those three thoughts the song. And it was probably, I don't know, time. I don't have the best sense of time, so I don't want to exaggerate, but it was probably 20 minutes, maybe half an hour.
Okay.
Wrote the whole song. And I think it's so, one of my favorite things I've figured out for myself is it's so cool to record the first time you attempt to play any song you've written from start to finish. Okay. Because you just like, there's just like this incredible fragility to it, kind of, because it's like the whole time it's like maybe gonna fall apart, but get through it. And it's also like you're kind of like, well, this is the best way I can describe it right now. You're kind of like tasting the words for the first time as you're recording them and singing them for the first time. And I don't think that newness is possible to imitate. And like, because I'm not like the strongest musician at all, technically, I'm probably never going to have a first take that's like also tight enough to be on the record, but maybe with a simple song. And so what I did before I like tried singing, I just wrote down the three things I wanted to say to her. And then I like put on the camera on my phone and sang through the song and sent her that. I think that's the quickest song of any on these two releases. And it's really nice for me. It's really nice that it's just a moment. And I kind of let it be the moment it was.
Okay. So you didn't feel like you had to go back then after the fact and let me change this, and this. Like, it was pleasing.
Yeah, that it was pleasing for me to listen back to. And I played it for Kyle because it was such a personal and kind of like small song. I wasn't really sure if it was right for the record, but I played it for Kyle and he liked it, and he kind of just pointed out like a couple moments harmonically that I should emphasize. So I think I maybe changed a couple chord voicings. But the words stayed the same. And then in the studio, in Kyle's new studio, there's a vibraphone, which I think is just like a very beautiful sounding instrument. And it kind of made me, like when I played it, it kind of made me think of a song from like an old movie, like not exactly a jazz ballad, but like something that is related to that kind of music. Okay. So I just added the vibraphone. And so it's just me playing classical guitar, singing a little bit of harmony and the vibraphone. And that was the finished song. Okay,
great. And let's see. So if I remember correctly, I may remember wrong because I didn't listen back to the interview, but you may remember.
Oh, no worries.
Okay. It felt like the modeling was more a day job to fund the music. Is it still feel like that way for you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm very grateful that I've had the opportunity to work as a model, mostly because it's enabled me to travel in a way that I guess there's a lot of different ways to travel, but a way that I didn't think was possible for me. Cause like I was able to spend 2 or 3 months in a given place, like some in Tokyo, in Paris, or two of my favorite places to be. And I like improved my language skills when I was living in other places. So I'm very grateful for it, but I've never identified with it. Like I kind of try to like phrase it as like I work as a model or I do modeling work, because like saying that I'm a model, it just implies a kind of identification with the job that like I don't really feel. Yeah. It's hard to explain. And like, I have friends who do identify with it, and I have like complete respect for them. Like it's it's a job that in its own way can be very challenging. Like the nature of the work is simple. You stand still and work close, but like getting consistent work and just kind of like knowing all the little things that you like ought to or have to do to keep clients happy. It's demanding and it can be exhausting. And so I have a lot of respect for my friends who are models. It's just like I always felt a little bit on the outside of the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess like there's multiple cultures within every industry in different places, but like if you can generalize and say that the industry has a culture, I just don't really feel like I fit in.
Yeah.
Whereas with music, even though like up until now, music hasn't been a job for me. I don't earn anything from it since I've been. Not yet.
Yeah.
It's like, thank you, boys. I appreciate that. Since I've been like 11 or 12 years old, I was like, this is what I like doing, and this is what I want to do. I want to make songs. So it's like, I think that's the difference, that I make a living working as a model, without identifying with the work I do, not in a strong personal way. Mm-hmm. And music for me feels like a part of who I am.
Yeah. Okay. And is it a concern for you that you'll be seen as a model / singer or singer / model? That's unavoidable.
That's a fair question. I feel like I can interpret it in multiple ways. I mean, so I guess at the end of the day, I think I'm just grateful that because I work as a model, I just know I've just met more people in more places than I would have if I'd just continued teaching. So that's like a nice way to kind of share my music. It's just send it to all the friends I've made in different places. And like, I definitely feel like kind of out of my element on social media, but because the reason I have an Instagram is my agent was like, you have to have one. And so I've, tried to figure that out. And it is nice to have like a little bit of, to have my Instagram already established because of modeling. Yeah. So that when I want to share my music, there's a place to put it. So that's a nice thing about it. I'm not too concerned about people's assumptions about that combination of things, singing and modeling. I think if they take the time to listen to my music, they'll either like it or they won't. And it doesn't, I think, I don't know. I feel like people in general are pretty open-hearted and like generous about other people's art, in that like, at least and I think most people I interact with online, like, want to give others people art a chance. Like, there's so much amazing stuff to discover. Like, why not click on the link, see what it's like? And like, most times I do that, I find something to appreciate about it. Yeah. And I find that reciprocated from people I share my music with. So I don't think I'm worried about being a singer model, but I'll get back to you if that changes.
And it's kind of cool. Like, if somebody discovers you like through your Instagram, through your modeling, like, oh, I didn't know he made music. And then now you have a potential new fan because they came through you through this other avenue that you do.
Exactly. And I've changed my Instagram handle to Sam Pearce Music. So it's like trying to let people know that it's about the music.
Yeah. And let's see. So I don't want to go there. Okay. So
now I want you. Now I'm intrigued.
Now you want me to go there? No, I guess I was just saying. Do you the experiences of being a model? Do they find your way into the music? Do they find their way into the music?
I don't know for like, I can't say with certainty that they don't, because it is like, I spend a lot of hours like getting the work and doing the work. I would say one way in which they maybe do affect the music is like, if I think through the songs, a lot of them are set in Massachusetts, but like one of them is in in Germany, and one of them's in Paris. And I like wouldn't have been in those places and known those people if I hadn't been modeling. So in that way, I feel like it's kind of expanded my album geographically. Mm-hmm. And yeah, there must be other ways, but they're not occurring to me at the moment.
Okay. And I guess what I was going to say was, mm-hmm. We can edit this out if you want. You know, like if someone's a model and they want to be an actor, to be taken seriously as an actor, they have to quit modeling, which I've never understood. I'm like, why can't you do both? But yeah, you often see that like when a person has to quit the modeling altogether, they just want to be a quote unquote serious actor. Yeah. And I guess, do you ever feel like at some point you may be like, well, I'm just a singer, I have to quit the modeling, even though it's funding?
If I ever, I appreciate that consideration, because I was wondering if that's what you're getting at, and it makes sense. If making music ever allows me to make a living the way modeling is allowing me to, not like a glamorous living, but like I get by from modeling now, then I would have no problem quitting, because I would want to devote more time to my music. I think right now it's just like, you know, it's a financial necessity. Yeah. And I guess if I ever, I guess right now there's just so little, I'm not like receiving any kind of judgment from strangers, because most of the people who listen to my music are my friends and family. And so it's like kind of hard for me to fathom that kind of judgment. But if I encounter it, I don't know. I could figure that out. But I think there's like some open-mindedness about having having multiple vocations, because I don't know, you have to make a living, and like I don't see how like working as a model or working as a musician would compromise each other. Mm-hmm.
And the irony is, okay, if you stopped the modeling as a musician, you're still modeling for what? Magazine pieces, photo shoots for that, for album covers. So you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, right. I mean, it would be so exciting for me to have my picture taken because I did something, not because like I happened to like be the right height and size to like be a structured book club. So cool. That would be very, very exciting for me. Recently, I did a modeling job where I was like booked as a sax player, and my agent was like, "I know you can play trumpet. Can you play sax?" I was like, "Not at all, but like I can rent one today, and we can say I'm a beginner." So, the sax. They had me pretend to play sax and pretend to play guitar, and it was a lot of fun. But so far, that's the closest I've come to like being photographed for music.
Okay. Yeah.
That goes so far, yeah.
Yeah. So we got the EV's coming out March 5th. Best place for people is what? Sam Pearce Music on Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram, Sam Pearce Music. My last name is so it's SAMPEARCE Music. Because like a lot of people tend to, when they hear my name, they'll spell it like Paul Pierce's last name, but it's PEARCE. And then same on Spotify, Sam Pearce. I think those are the places to go.
Okay, cool. Did I leave anything out, Sam?
I'm trying to think.
Is that everything?
Well, I meant to. I like how we can talk off the record for a sec. I wanted to like catch up and ask how you're doing. But let me think for a sec. Oh yeah. I made notes. Excellent.
Okay.
So,
I love an interviewee. He makes notes.
I mean, it's like 10 words of notes. But one, yeah. So to credit Kyle, I mean, Kyle. I think Kyle knows, but Kyle is definitely Kyle Joseph, producer, mixer, is definitely the biggest reason for the album being what it is. And like he made the EP sound really nice, definitely. And I think that he really transformed the LP. So yeah, people who if you listen to my songs and you enjoy the way they sound, Kyle is your guy, and he's very much in demand. He's booked out for a long time, but I can't recommend him enough.
Yeah. Also worked with Nick Pope.
And on the LP, Nick Pope played drums, and then my best friend, Matthew O'Coin, who's like a rightly beloved composer in the new classical world, played piano.
Okay.
So it was really cool for me to get to perform with them, or to get to have their artistry on my album.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, I mean, Kyle and I are great friends. We've known each other since I was like 16, and just it was hard for me to make this LP, and like huge credit is due to Kyle for just kind of like, his patience and kindness throughout the process. So one other thing I wanted to mention is I got this idea from my friend who makes she makes various kinds of visual art and like donates the proceeds to different causes. And if you want to check out her art, it's What If Art by Zora, Gohra, on Etsy. I just ordered a bunch of stuff, and it's just beautiful work in my opinion. So she gave me this idea actually. But I am gonna sell my EP on Bandcamp for $5. I think that's like the right price to make it not prohibitive for folks. And I'm donating all the proceeds to the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence. Okay, so my goal is to try to sell 100 copies, and thereby, well, I guess I will have to sell some percentage more because Bandcamp will take some of the revenue, but to net $500 to donate to National Coalition Against Domestic Violence. So, if anyone likes, and I understand that in some ways, like buying music can feel superfluous because you can listen to it for free. But if anyone likes the EP and wants to contribute to this fundraiser, it'll be there on Bandcamp.
That's great, Sam. Okay.
Thanks,
that's a great cause. This was wonderful.
Oh,
again, as usual.
Boice, am I allowed to talk about your music on your podcast?
Sure.
I listened to your single from like 10 years ago. Itchy Boy. It's awesome. It's
thank you.
It's so catchy, and it's just a very fresh experience that it's not easily categorized. And it's very nice to listen to. And I was like, oh, I thought it was new. Okay. And I was like, it was from 10 years ago, but it made me excited. I heard in your interview it might have been with James Tillman, one of the other musicians you interviewed, you were talking about like making music again. So I'm looking forward to hearing like the new things you've been making.
Yeah. I just interviewed, it hasn't come out yet, but I just interviewed my producer, Ben Rice. Last week. Yeah, so we're talking about working together again. So, and I have to send him some songs. So so I'm moving the process along.
Yeah, if you ever want, like, for me, it's so helpful to have like a small group of trusted listeners before I post the world. So if you ever want another set of ears, it'd be really cool to hear whatever you're working on.
Great. I appreciate that, dude. Thank you. Oh, cool.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor.
I enjoyed it.
I hope you have a great day.
Same to you.
Honey, why'd you text me? I'm sad I didn't take a chance on you when you knew I was someone's baby. What did you want? Well, honey, I'm easy. I own my feelings, so you know what you're giving up when you unstick my star from the ceiling. You were drunk, I was so I didn't kiss you back. You were drunk, I was so I didn't kiss you back. I was sober, so it goes without saying. And we were worth being sober for. Honey, I see you. I know you're forever. Honey, I'm home over. Just shaking bass doesn't shake you out of it. I don't love you like that. I just think with time I would have. You were drunk, I was so I didn't kiss you back. You were drunk, I was so I didn't kiss you back. I was sober, so it goes without saying. My love's worth being sober for. Honey, you are worth being sober for. And we were worth every wasted hour. You and I rediscover winter skin. July on your sweet tooth grin. Let my eyes wander home to yours. Say, baby, what are you waiting for? Freeze our mind, cold or frightened by your flame, straying weary of moon age. But I'm aching to be tamed. Don't pull your hand away. Your evening eyes and the pair I once woke up to. The hours of light since I first saw inside of you. We can grow up to my bedroom Sunday spine, where I am yours and life is mine. What shadows stretch just across the lawn? Beginner's giants gone. My heart's growing in it hurts so good. My heart's growing in it hurts so sweet. My heart's growing in it hurts so it's scary unlocking. My pride, my heart's growing in it hurts so two sizes small. For every feeling that won't stop moving through. But I keep a dream clean for you. I want you like sugar, and I want you like water. Wanna drive you so high that I don't need to know.
you have it. 2 from Hold Me, Rare Animal, the EP out March 5th. You heard Honey and Beginners. If you would like more information on this very podcast, talkmusictalk.com is the place, more podcast information, and to stream every single episode. You can also follow me on Instagram at This Is Boice. I would appreciate that. Some requests for you. Please subscribe to the podcast wherever you like to get your podcasts, like iTunes, Stitcher, Google, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Audible. Just search for Talk Music Talk wherever you happen to listen. Please leave a 5-star rating and or review to expose TMT to brand new listeners. There is also an app. It is free to download wherever you like to get your apps. Again, just search for Talk Music Talk. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, and there will be a next time, this one's for you, Liz.